What if one of the most neutral, precise, and disciplined countries on Earth just exposed the biggest hidden risk in the F-35 program? It sounds impossible, right? Switzerland isn't a global superpower, it doesn't have a trillion-dollar defense budget, and it certainly isn't trying to lead NATO. Yet, in early 2024, Switzerland quietly dropped a warning that sent shockwaves through military planners in Europe and North America. Why did it matter so much? Because Switzerland is known for precision in everything it does, from banking to watchmaking to defense procurement. When this small, cautious nation says something about a fighter jet, the world listens. And now, Canada is paying attention. This isn't just a distant European concern. Canada's $19 billion F-35 program and the ability to defend its vast Arctic territories is suddenly under the spotlight. Here's the twist. Switzerland's warning wasn't loud or dramatic. There were no press conferences or flashy headlines. Instead, it was blunt, precise, and deeply unsettling. It was the kind of message no Pentagon briefing once discussed, because it exposed a gap between political promises and operational reality. Switzerland's neutrality makes this warning different from any other. Unlike nations bound by alliances or global ambitions, Switzerland buys equipment to protect itself efficiently, independently, and affordably. They don't chase prestige. They don't care about headlines. They care about what works. And when they discovered a hidden risk in one of the most expensive fighter jets ever built, it instantly raised questions that now reach all the way to Ottawa. By the end of this story, you'll see how Switzerland's quiet alarm could give Canada a last-minute chance to rethink a $19 billion gamble, a decision that could shape its Arctic defense strategy for decades to come. To understand why Switzerland's warning carries so much weight, we need to look at who they are and how they make defense decisions. Switzerland isn't just neutral on paper. They have a track record of staying out of wars for centuries. They've survived global conflicts without relying on anyone else, and that mindset shapes every choice they make about defense. When Switzerland buys military equipment, it's never about prestige or showing off. They don't chase the latest flashy technology just because it's popular. Every purchase is meticulously calculated for efficiency, independence, and cost-effectiveness. Every franc spent is weighed against long-term value and sovereignty. That's why their decisions aren't taken lightly. In contrast, many NATO frontline states often buy fighter jets with multiple goals. Media: NATO fighter jets on tarmac with flags, international air base featuring multiple NATO aircraft maintaining alliances, signaling strength, or meeting political obligations. Switzerland doesn't operate that way. For them, defense is a precise science, not a political chess game. They scrutinize every detail, from life cycle costs to maintenance requirements to operational autonomy. This disciplined approach makes their voice unusually credible. When Switzerland speaks, defense planners worldwide stop and listen. A caution from Switzerland isn't a complaint. It's a signal that something is seriously off. And when that caution involved the F-35, one of the most expensive, complex, and hyped jets in modern history, it immediately drew attention from countries like Canada, whose own defense needs are vast and extreme. In short, Switzerland's warning isn't just another critique. It's a carefully considered, expert evaluation from a nation that measures risk better than almost anyone else on the planet. And that's what makes the next part of the story, the gap between the F-35 promise and reality, so alarming. When Switzerland signed the contract for the F-35 in 2021, the deal came with big promises: fixed costs, predictable maintenance, clear, long-term financial planning. On paper, it looked like a neat, controlled investment, the kind of purchase a country obsessed with precision and budgeting could trust. But reality didn't match the promise. By 2023 and 2024, Swiss officials started seeing the cracks. Operating costs were climbing higher than originally projected. Inflation and adjustments in U.S. pricing quietly changed the numbers. Long-term sustainment, which was supposed to be guaranteed, suddenly had a question mark over it. Switzerland, a country that demands total clarity over defense spending, realized something alarming. They no longer had full control over what the F-35 would cost throughout its lifetime. Think of it like buying a high-end sports car that comes with a fixed monthly payment, only to discover after a year that insurance, parts, and service fees have doubled, and you don't even get to choose the mechanics. That's the kind of strategic vulnerability Switzerland faced, and it's not just about money. In defense, unpredictability in cost translates into unpredictability in readiness. This gap between expectation and reality is what set off alarms in Ottawa. Canada's F-35 program isn't just expensive. It's enormous, stretching over decades and involving complex logistics across the Arctic. If Switzerland, a country famous for financial discipline, was suddenly forced to rethink its F-35 budget, it raised a crucial question. Could Canada afford the hidden costs and uncertainties without jeopardizing its own operational readiness? Switzerland's experience made one thing painfully clear. The F-35 isn't just a fighter jet. It's a long-term financial and operational commitment, one that may come with surprises no contract fully accounts for. And that leads us to the next critical concern: control and sovereignty. Switzerland's concerns went beyond money. Soon, they realized there was an even bigger problem: control. The F-35, despite being physically in their hangars, isn't fully theirs. Mission data is stored and managed by the United States. Software updates require U.S. approval. Sensitive maintenance work needs authorization from American authorities. In simple terms, Switzerland discovered that buying an F-35 isn't the same as owning it. It's more like leasing access to a highly sophisticated, heavily monitored system, one that could be restricted if political priorities shift in Washington. For a country obsessed with autonomy, that was a major red flag. Now imagine being Canada, a country responsible for defending the world's longest coastline and vast Arctic territories. Distances are extreme, weather is brutal, and bases are sparse. In a crisis, Canada cannot afford to wait for someone else's permission to launch jets or access mission data. Operational independence isn't just a luxury, it's an absolute necessity. This is where Switzerland's warning becomes existential for Canada. If a small, neutral country like Switzerland faces constraints in using its F-35s, what does that mean for Canada's ability to respond to threats in its most remote regions? The stakes are clear. Political dependency could turn a cutting-edge fighter jet into a strategic liability rather than an asset. Switzerland's insight raises a fundamental question. Is owning the most advanced jet worth it if you don't fully control it? And that question sets the stage for the next issue: whether the F-35 was even designed for the kind of environment Canada must operate in. Even if you could afford the F-35 and navigate the political control issues, there's another question Canada must ask. Does the jet actually fit the mission? Switzerland's warning highlighted a critical point. The F-35 wasn't designed for dispersed, extreme environments like Canada's Arctic. The F-35 relies on climate-controlled hangars and centralized logistics hubs. Its history in sub-zero temperatures is limited, and it wasn't built to operate from rough, improvised airstrips. Contrast that with alternatives like the Saab Gripen, which was designed for exactly these conditions. Gripens can take off from highways, survive subarctic climates, and operate in a dispersed manner, spreading aircraft across multiple locations so they're harder to target and easier to sustain. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to race a Formula One car across snowy back roads instead of a smooth track. It's engineered for speed and precision. But the terrain changes everything. That's Canada's Arctic. Long flights over vast distances, unpredictable storms, and very few bases make operational flexibility critical. Switzerland's experience forced Canada to ask a difficult question. Are we buying the right jet for our geography, or are we choosing the politically convenient one, the one that aligns neatly with Washington and NATO priorities, but may struggle in the harshest conditions Canada faces? This practical mismatch leads directly into another concern: The F-35's heavy reliance on centralized data and software systems, which Switzerland also flagged. The F-35 is often called a flying computer, and for good reason. Its strength lies in advanced software, cloud-based diagnostics, and centralized mission data systems. Every flight, every mission, and every maintenance check depends on constant data flow and software verification. But this reliance creates a hidden vulnerability, one that Switzerland quickly noticed. Swiss officials worried about cyber exposure. If mission data is stored on foreign servers, if software updates must be approved by the United States, then the jet's capabilities are only as reliable as those systems. In a crisis, even a minor delay in approval or access could make the difference between mission success and failure. For Canada, the stakes are even higher. Imagine tensions escalating in the Arctic. Extreme weather, vast distances, and limited infrastructure. If Canadian F-35s needed immediate updates or access to mission-critical data, waiting for Washington's approval could slow operations dangerously. The very independence Canada relies on to protect its territory would be compromised. This isn't just theoretical. Military history is full of examples where delays in command, logistics, or access to critical technology had strategic consequences. From mismanaged radar data in World War II to software glitches grounding aircraft in modern operations, dependency can be deadly. Switzerland's warning highlights that the F-35's smart systems may actually become a liability if control isn't local. And all these challenges, cost uncertainty, lack of operational autonomy, geography mismatch, and data dependency, bring Canada to a pivotal decision point. The next step is about how Ottawa is responding hedging strategically while deciding its next move. Switzerland's quiet warning has put Canada in a unique position, a crossroads where every decision could have long-term consequences. Ottawa hasn't canceled the F-35 program, but it has started hedging its bets. Timelines for infrastructure upgrades have been delayed. Operational studies have quietly expanded, and Canada is engaging more seriously with European manufacturers and alternatives. This isn't about indecision, it's about strategy. Canada is learning lessons that go far beyond stealth capabilities or the hype of owning a cutting-edge fighter jet. Ownership matters more than raw technology. Availability and readiness beat theoretical superiority. And independence, the ability to operate without asking for permission, is more valuable than political convenience. Think of it like choosing a car for a road trip across the Arctic. You could pick a flashy sports car that looks amazing on the showroom floor, but breaks down on the ice. Or you could pick a rugged, dependable vehicle built for the terrain. Canada is now asking itself, which choice ensures we can actually defend our territory when it matters most? The impact of Switzerland's experience could ripple beyond Canada. If one neutral, highly disciplined country questions the practicality of the F-35, others may follow. And for Canada, which is one of the largest planned buyers, its decision could influence NATO's air power alignment for decades. The domino effect is real, and Canada now stands at the center of it. The question now becomes, will Canada double down on the F-35, risking cost overruns, limited autonomy, and operational mismatch? Or will it pivot to a system designed for its geography, climate, and strategic needs? That leads us to the final reflection, the choice between truth and prestige. Switzerland didn't attack the F-35. They didn't launch a political campaign or try to make headlines. What they did was far more powerful. They told the truth. They revealed that the future of air power isn't just about stealth, speed, or advanced sensors. It's about control, cost, operational fit, climate resilience, and sovereignty. For Canada, that truth is now impossible to ignore. The country faces a historic choice. It can double down on the most complex jet ever built, aligning closely with United States politics and NATO expectations, even if that means accepting cost uncertainties, limited autonomy, and operational challenges in the Arctic. Or it can pivot toward a system designed for Canada's geography, a jet that is independent, versatile, and capable of performing in extreme conditions. This is more than a defense decision. It's a question of strategic wisdom. In a world where political pressure is constant and alliances shift, does prestige outweigh operational reality? Will Canada choose the jet that looks powerful, or the one that actually protects its territory? Switzerland changed the conversation. By pointing out what many assumed couldn't be questioned, they handed Canada the chance to rethink, to hedge, and to make a truly informed choice. Canada's next move won't just affect its own defense, it could reshape NATO's air power balance for decades. And that's a decision no country can afford to take lightly.